there's the Square Man room, right? And then that's maybe a hallway to it, and then this seems to be the big long pathway that gets you there. And Gihan and friend are here. This is gonna be confusing without if you're looking directly. But you know what? Let me draw the landscape, and then I can draw arrows. But you probably already know where I'm going with this. Or maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, bad guys, I'll put bees here. These are all stacked in this area, doing bad guy things like shooting. And then Master Soul is here, and friend. And it seems to me that they're arguing frontman starts here, and he just literally just goes this direction and just shoots the bad guy. Well, like, that was the plan. And I'm like, if this is truly the way this was built, that's so fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, what the... In terms of, like, a flank... You know, it's, you know what? You understand. Squid Game could have been shooting... Or Master Squid Game, sorry. It could have been shooting this whole time, and you could have just sent Friend to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would have been over. Like, it's ridiculous, man.
Great plan.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
No, that's it. They're done. Gihan and Jungbei drop their weapons and they surrender. And Frontman descends the stairs in his costume and all. It's Frontman again. And he asks, player 456, did you have fun playing the hero? And he points his pistol at Gihan, who stares him down with steely determination. He's ready. And Frontman then says, look closely at the consequences of your little hero game before pointing his gun at Jungbei and shooting him in the heart. He tumbles over, and Gihan is furious, and he launches at himself at Frontman, but is pinned down by the soldiers, and he howls, and he breaks down, stricken with grief over the death of his friend. And that is the end of Season 2.
Yeah.
We end there. That's where it ends.
I had to double check my timeline when this episode ends. Like, wait, what?
I think that they believe that, like, ending on this is a dramatic sting, which it is. It's a dramatic payoff. It's emotional. It's sad. Gihan's really, this is a low point, but again, it's like this, like a second act low point, not like a end season low, because the story's not done. It ain't over yet. Like, we're not finished.
Well, and I also, I would have felt, I feel like annoyed that I didn't feel more when the friend died, because like I quite like him. But this was too much stupid in a row, and I was like, I couldn't take it anymore, and I couldn't stop thinking about how retarded this whole thing was. And then killing him, I was like, I almost didn't believe it was happening. I was just like, whatever. This is, I guess he's dead, like which is not good at all as an experience. It's really unfortunate.
Going back to the conversation about contrivances, this is an example of what a contrivance. Actually, it's many examples of what a contrivance is packed into this one episode.
Yeah, and they've just killed my investment. And then to be like, return for season 3, I'm like, wow, that's it. Okay. And I guess, so broadly speaking, the reason why this doesn't work for me as a part 1, even if it was marketed, by the way, as a part 1, is that we are so absolutely chopped in the middle to the point where I don't even believe this was fucking necessarily properly created such that it would be the end of part 1, as opposed to they created the whole thing and then just took a fucking meat cleaver at the film reel and just went boom in the middle. It's like, oh, we settled on this. This is the mid-season end or whatever. So much is unresolved. There's basically no purpose to the detective plotline or the organ donor plotline or the girl. All of that doesn't have anything satisfactory for this season. It's all dependent on next season, which is not the way it's supposed to do that. Then, of course, there are individual characters. For example, fucking Voodoo Lady. What the hell was the point? And you're like, find out next season. You're like, okay, thanks. And then that goes the same for several other characters that just, like, no offense, but pregnant girl. Like, she was pregnant. I guess.
Still is.
She's still pregnant.
Did not change.
And then the dad with Noelle or whatever, like all of this stuff. And then I would say thematically, I don't think we're anywhere near complete on exploring what is this season is obviously trying to move on from season 1. I've got pieces, and then I started thinking about, like, man, is that it for Frontman being in the game?
That would be
because
really lame.
Well, technically speaking, he can go back in
Yes,
still.
he could be
He
back.
could say to Gihan like, yeah, they could fake an injury in the arm or something, and they knocked me out or something. They killed the other two. Some contrived crap to explain like that back. But I don't think that's what's happening. I get the impression from this that that's it. He's not going back in.
That's what it feels like for sure.
No, I think
he
they're
can't
done
go back because he said, "Blur, I'm dead." Blur.
Yeah, that's right. He did gurgle.
Yes.
So
The peak of my enjoyment in this has been Frontman and Gihan working in both the game 2 and 3. That was like the height of my investment. And obviously the other payoffs we get for other characters. And like, I'm not getting any more of that, and I'm not even going to get any more of their philosophical sort of ideological differences, right? And how and Frontman expressing them as just a normal guy asking some questions, sort of stuff, and then gradually giving too much away, and then having that explode in the middle of a game. I thought that was going to be what we do, game 4 or game 5, whatever have you. But like, it gets realized during the pressure of having to decide certain things to make certain people live or die that you realize he's Frontman. That's, it's like, are we not doing that? Is that not going to happen now?
I guess we are closing the door on what was the most interesting part of season 2, which is a little bit. It's a little bit frustrating, especially when so much of like whether or not season 2 is worth recommending is kind of going to be contingent on season 3. Which I suppose that opens up that as a point. Yeah, I find it hard to say that I would recommend this season, not because I didn't enjoy it. I did, but like,
just not done.
It ain't done. Exactly. It's like recommending a show halfway through.
Yeah, we don't typically do that anyway. Like with Penguin, I had to see the last episode. I couldn't even recommend it at the penultimate episode. I was like, wait, just give me a sec. I need to see that last one.
I'm not sure I'd go so far as to say I enjoyed bits of this, but I don't think I enjoyed enough of it that I wouldn't. If it weren't for us covering it here, if it was just a case of watching it as I watch other things, I might genuinely have stopped at around episode 3 and waited for whatever the next bit was, and then watched it in bulk later. I don't know that there was enough good in it, even when it was better than this last episode, to say, yeah, I'm genuinely fascinated as to what this half story is going to tell me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I watched the whole thing in one day. I watched it right before I came over here, the day before, in preparation for the EFAP, obviously. And as a whole package, I was not nearly as glued to my television, monitor, whatever you want to watch it on, as I was with season 1. I was obviously also preparing stuff like packing shit, whatever. But normally, when you watch a show, even if you're busy, there's like pieces where you get dragged in. There was so many times and so many pieces here where it's like, oh, there's a detective again. Guess I'll just fucking move shit around. And I was just so out of it at some points that I didn't even realize how good the games actually are. Because I rewatched them here with you, right? We rewatched them here, and when I watched them again, I was like, "Oh, this is actually like really fucking good." But because I was so out of the episode, because there's like, I don't know, 20 minutes of organs and the weird sniper lady and detective stuff, that I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, oh, the game again. Guess I'll kind of watch it now." I was just so out of it that I didn't really pay attention properly to what was even going on. So I feel like as a complete package, the quotes complete package of season 2 part 1, you could say, I guess, it's just not as strong, like not nearly as strong. It's just it just doesn't drag you in as much. And the characters, there's like some good, like the old lady, I like her, and there's like bits and pieces with Thanos, as we already talked about, and with other characters too, but I'm like, I was just not into it as much. But then if you rewatch the games in isolation, those are still really strong. They still get you in there. And shouldn't forget the Russian roulette part in episode 1. That was excellent. I was actually still super on board because I watched that and I was like, oh, that's really fucking good. I like that. But then you just have like things dragging along. It's like, oh, come on, I just want to do games. And when you get to this part here, I'm looking at the timeline. It's like they're still shooting each other. They've been running out of ammo for 25 minutes. It's like, yeah, it's not happening. And then they lose and the guy dies. And I was like, oh, that's it? That's a bit lame. Especially because I wasn't even really aware they're doing something like this, where they do like a season 2, part 1 and 2, which they technically don't do, but that's what it is. If you look at this is part 1 of this season, if you ask me. So yeah, I was just not into this from the get-go. It's still solid overall because of the games and character stuff, but man, I'd rather watch season 1 again if I would recommend people. And also, wait for the second half. Maybe this makes it like a better watch. But I think you can't deny that they wasted a lot of time here again with the detective stuff.
Yeah.
And the organ.
Detective stuff, Organ Girl, fucking this entire last episode.
Well, I'd even say the time was wasted within the A plot at certain points.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't need to have lengthy voting sections. No, go ahead.
I agree on that. That's for sure. I would say I'd say I'm more partial to this season than it sounds like you are, Metal. But I probably like season 1 is just like complete. And for whatever problems it has, like it's something that can actually sort of you can be assessed like, yeah, thematically it's pretty sound, and you've got some great character payoffs that lead to satisfying endings. For all of the whereas here it's just a case of like, damn man, we ain't done yet. So like whatever positive feelings I have are kind of the asterisk is, yeah, but like who knows where it's going to lead. And then with the negative feelings, it's like the same deal. It's like, well, okay, but there's another season, so maybe like the plot lines that felt like they were going nowhere will be made better. But it doesn't change that when you're watching it at the time, you still have those negative feelings, even if like later on it's all get brought back. Like, yeah, we really did something with the organ plot line, or like, yeah, the detective storyline ended up going somewhere. Maybe it will, but for the time being, it's incomplete. And I wouldn't want to recommend something and then for the rest of, the storyline to fuck it up.
Well, also incredibly distrustful of that. It might get better with the next one. Arcane has completely put me to bed on that line of thinking. A lot of the reasons these things don't seem to be as good when you first watch them will be problems that actually bleed into the rest of it as well. They won't be fixed by what comes next. They're indicative of a relatively sloppy approach to writing, which will also infect the next one. I hope I'm wrong, as I hoped I was wrong for Arcane, but like I have a nasty suspicion I'm not.
I almost want to just remix all of it, including the nature of how they're going to be doing these seasons. I feel like this done well, this like action-packed running through the facility thing, should have been, if they're only doing 3 seasons, that's season 3's big ending. Season 2, I think, was working so much better with just the notion of him going through the game again with brand new set of people, that previous experience, the voting system being put in, and the boss of the bad guys being his partner. Like, that is already an immense amount we can do with that, and then, strip away the stupid detective, all the wasted stuff, and put in way more character. And to be honest with you, so I think I've spoken about this with Fring and Mel as well, I kind of want to move things around such that we get into the game by the end of episode 1, and move the recruiter into the fucking game, and then have one of the last games be, and this would take a while to properly write, right? But it could be that everyone splits off into 2s, kind of like marbles, and maybe that's being echoed and referenced. And I was saying, like, what if when they say you have to find a partner, that Gihan is like, oh, this is marbles. All right, everyone choose people, like on the download, don't choose people you like. And then he ends up grabbing the recruiter because he fucking hates him, he hates him. Like, they've developed that over the course of the season. But then it turns out it's not marbles, but it's not bad that they chose people they hate, because it turns out to just be the game they're playing in episode 1, and that everyone has to, just the Russian roulette, basically. That's just what it is. Okay. And it's, we'd get plenty out of people who like each other or hate each other having to play it. They have a guy next to them to ensure they play their game properly. But run, basically you get that same really great scene, but that we're in the game and that we're moving everything across, and that having the dynamic of someone like the recruiter, someone like a corrected and re-edited and redrafted Thanos, so all the characters that they're working with, but all spruced up and focused on, and then of course having a plot line, the Squid Game employees, bringing this in as well. We get to learn a bunch of them, and then by the time we hit season 3, we care so much about some of the employees that when this all happens, like a better version of it, we actually have, like, we care about everyone involved, and all of this calamity and death is happening as a result of, you can think forever about what points are being made. You almost make the
employees like victims of the system in a different sort of way.
Yeah, we would have to really think about how we write how they get in there to make sure that audiences can feel almost unequivocal support for certain Squid Game employees. You have to really think about how you execute that. But, man, just thinking about what could have been, it feels like we've missed out significantly. I like what I got in certain parts of it, but this misshapen season is going to lead to, and this kind of feels like what was said about House of the Dragon. Like, I feel like we're heading for a disappointing season 3 now because of this.
Doesn't instill me with more faith than what I went in with. I'll say that. The level of confidence is lower.
I think there will still be good scenes, though, because there were good scenes.
I agree.
And
they clearly
I
have
would
the
argue that
write
they've
really good scenes and good characters.
I'd say that Mingle and the six-legged race thing, that shows there's still some power left in that pen of the writer. Okay?
Compared to Arcane,
Arcane was a complete disaster. Yeah.
I don't care about any other League of Legends shows. I don't expect anything, and I don't give a fuck. Whereas here, it's like, well, I'll watch season 3 though.
Yeah, there is a David in that hunk of marble. How much of it will get out is a bit up in the air.
Remains to be seen.
How fucking cool would it have been to have the recruiter here, and it's easy to get him in. You could just have Gihan do the same sort of pride talk with him and be like, "You'd never fucking win. You'd never win." And then he'd be like,
"Maybe they only had him for a day. Maybe
don't care. Pay him all of the money." That actor is so fucking good. It's not even fair.
Yes, he is. I mean, a lot of the actors in this are good, but he was particularly great.
The fact that he's a good actor and he can portray the unhit. Like, imagine him in all the other games. The amount of payoffs we could get.
Oh yeah, it'd be some good memes. But no,
dude, imagine when they're like, which of the 5 games he should do, and he just smiles because like obviously he's doing the first one.
He's doing Dodgy. Yeah, he's practiced at that one. Yeah, I think I agree with the idea that there are like ideas here that could be remixed in ways that just maximize the potency and the drama. And it's like, well, you did it well, but you could have been better. And then of course, just other things where it's like, that was just kind of bad.
Well, we border on some significant damage in certain moments here.
Sure, I agree with that. Which is almost odd because if someone asked me, well, so how are you feeling about Squid Game season 2 in general, Fringy, it'd be like, well, I mean, I kind of had lower expectations for it than other things that were coming out this year, and it ended up having more qualities than a lot of those other. Like, this is better than Arcane season 2,
easily.
Obviously,
that's meaningless.
Yep, it's obviously better. I know it's meaning. I know it's better
just to establish, I guess.
Oh my goodness. It is better than Deadpool and Wolverine. I know that it's a movie show, but it is. That's really easy. I suppose the real surprise of the year was Penguin, in terms of being a thing that none of us were paying much attention to. That ended up being excellent. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I suppose there was a group of 3 shows, right? Andor, Squid Game, and Arcane. Arcane was the one that I think we had the highest expectations of, and it was fucking disaster. I think Andor was one where we were still feeling, which I think weirdly, I don't know about you guys, but now I'm almost expecting that it's actually going to be great. Because,
you know what, Friggy, storytelling wise, I would. Like, it fits. The fate would deliver that to us, but we're not in a story, so I'm a little worried myself.
We're in real life, so
help me, Andor. Season 2, you're my only hope, is definitely how I'm feeling right now for season 2. It's the one that's gonna come through.
So to sort of bring it back to Squid Game, I think the expectation was, I think I expected that it was going to be bad, and it's not. But like, it ain't great. It's really a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's still got some pretty consistent pitfalls that the first season had.
Agreed.
Well,
I think that this is...
It's hard to actually like say because of I'm still at the point of being like trying to categorize all the different aspects into some form of like a rating is difficult because I need to know where this shit's going. It's incomplete. It's flopping around. I'm like, I can't really say what that is yet. For example, like, what is the power and the impact of Shaman Lady? And I'm like, well, it's shit. And then you'd be like, well, but wait, we haven't seen all of his story yet. It's like,
I'm still not interested to find out. Could you just die, please?
I mean, it's not impossible.
I don't even feel like we're going anywhere with her yet.
It's not impossible that they take what we've seen and make something meaningful happen. It's not impossible, but it's just so unlikely.
What they've shown has not instilled me with confidence. I feel like she's directionless. Like, we're not going anywhere with her.
I'd also I think I'd probably be inclined to judge it as they want it to be judged. If you're going to call this a season, then judge it as a season. And the fact that we're still sitting here thinking, well, maybe season 3 will actually, redeem some of the bad things and complete the stories that season 2 didn't get around to finishing, well, then that's a problem with season 2. Don't call it season 2. It's evidently not one of those. Stop cleaving things in half arbitrarily. That's not how you should write stories.
I get you. I just if someone told you to rate episodes 1 through 4 of Squid Game season 1, I'm kind of like, good. I guess it's weird to say 1 through 4, but that's how I feel like they've done with this. They've chopped it in half arbitrarily, and I'm like almost confused. But you're right. That's how they did it, and so it's like, so what was the experience in total? It's like strange, lopsided. At times really engaging, and at times really fucking boring.
And so
very squidly.
It's just it's hard to recommend, but it's not because it's like a disaster. It's because it's incomplete.
Oh, I've settled on not recommending, but I might once season 3 is out, because I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think this is a very great experience for the average person as a story, but it might be once the other half is available.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have to wait as much as possibly a half year is actually not so bad. So we'll be able to cover the other half and then tell you.
The reality, there's a reason why you compare it to Spider-Verse. Waiting like 2, 3, 4 years for like an obviously incomplete story to end is fucking annoying. And meanwhile, 6 months is like, yeah, it's okay, 6 months.
That film has the same problem, I think, compared to other stuff. So, take, for example, the Star Wars trilogy or Lord of the Rings trilogy. I feel like their respective installments are much easier to rely on in terms of gaps between them, versus something like Across the Spider-Verse's ending is very like, well, what happened next? They're just like, not until later. What do you mean? Fuck you.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's a meaningful difference between... Yes, the fate of Han Solo is to be determined, and the bad guys are still out there, but at the same time it's like, well, sure, but like it led up to a climactic final showdown between Luke and Vader with new revelations. It's complete. It's absolutely complete.
Well, I would say so.
But there's still more story to go.
Even though Empire is one of the most famous, best cliffhangers in the history of movies, I would just say, but heroes get to go home and lick their wounds, so to speak, process the information they've learned, and they have a strict goal, both personal and broad, for the next movie. That's a really good place to take a break.
Maybe the easiest way to convey it is the nature of how long of a gap there's going to be between what happened here and what happens next. That usually in stories that have a cliffhanger but still feel complete, the gap between then and the next story is some amount of time. Here it's going to be like the next day.
Yeah,
it's
next
like
hour, next minute.
In Spider-Verse as well, it's like, well, whatever's going to happen is good. It's literally that scene. Like that scene would probably be the first scene in the next movie.
Yeah.
Compared to, well, it's been like a year, or it's been 2 years, or it's been some months.
Yeah, even Lord of the Rings.
And hell,
we passed some time.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, when you have a big climax, every film ends with and someone could say, well, this was a bit of a climax. It's like, but it's not the same. It's not. It doesn't have a sense of finality that the climaxes of other things do. And I was actually thinking, maybe Breaking Bad might be a good thing to compare. Season 4 is a very definitive end, whereas the midway, the mid-season finale of season 5 is much more like, oh fuck, we've got a lot of story that's about to happen here, and even that feels like it's more of a real ending than this, and it is by definition a mid-season finale.
Something else about season 2 is if season 1 were a really nice car, it's like they took it and then were like, all right, season 2, can you take the wheels off and put other wheels on, and then take the boot out and put a different one in, take the engine out, put a different one in. And then as they were replacing parts, because they wanted to make the same thing, they were like, that engine that's super functional and really reliable, let's paint it rainbow colors and fucking supercharge it with vibranium nonsense radioactivity, blah, blah, blah. And just try that. And obviously what I'm trying to refer to is just, we need Doc Sue again, but maybe I don't know, fucking spinning around the wheel, see what else we can do with that. We need the crazy lady again, who's like selfish stuff. Yeah, what about like a shaman? That's kind of like the same thing. She can fill the same role, but she's just going to be different. And there's just lots of these elements, similar payoffs getting repeated, but with slightly different things. And I think some of them act as like really interesting parallels of like, oh, look, that's how that played out that time, because these are different people. But some of them just feel arbitrarily like, were they just trying to do the same thing again? I guess. They didn't really execute that very well. Like, this almost feels more experimental, but in, broadly speaking, more of a bad way. It feels a little bit shackled to the structure of Season 1, where it's trying to recreate a lot of stuff instead of broadly being its own thing. And then simultaneously, it's not even its own season. It's a half of a season, which brings with it all of its own problems as well. So it's... This thing is, to be honest with you, it's kind of surprising it turned out as well as it did, considering all of these different bad decisions I feel they've made.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
That's season 2 of Squid Game. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to, closing thoughts about this or expectations for season 3?
A bit worried.
No.
Don't exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get some good character stuff. But
we probably get some.
I mean, broadly speaking,
good games.
Gihan's going to get thrown back in. The 2 that made it back in are going to stay alive. We'll get our game 4, 5, and 6, I suppose.
Whatever it's going to be. With the
Detective Man will eventually find the island, and Squid Game employee girl might just revolt, and that plays in somehow to freeing Gihan. I don't know. These are not...
Final game between Squid Game and Frontman. Maybe they end up in the same arena.
I don't know anymore. I don't know what they're up to. And this is kind of what I mean. Like, I say all these things not enthusiastically. I'm kind of like,
Yeah. I get you.